Have you ever noticed that silence can be louder than a shout? Funny thing is, for us men, a woman's quiet stare can shake us more than 1,000 angry words ever could. A woman's silence, when used wisely, is a weapon very few know how to handle. And I'm not talking about staying quiet because you don't know what to say. I'm talking about turning silence into strategy, into mystery, into a psychological game that throws any man off balance. Think about it. How many times have you over-explained yourself? How many times have you sent that long message, only to feel like you gave away all your power? Explaining too much is like spoiling a movie. You kill the curiosity. But when you choose silence, you plant questions. You give him space to imagine, to wonder, to doubt himself. And neuroscience backs this up. The human brain hates empty spaces. When it doesn't find answers, it creates its own. And each scenario he invents only makes your presence stronger in his mind. Today, I'm going to guide you step by step. I'll show you when to use silence, how not to overdo it, and how to turn it into pure magnetism. And I'll reveal what really goes on inside a man's head when you choose not to say a word. Get ready, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at silence the same way again. Silence is powerful because it taps into a man's most primitive instinct, the chase. Since the beginning of time, the male brain has been wired to hunt, pursue, and figure things out. When the target was predictable, there was no thrill. But when it was hidden, when the trail was unclear, that's when adrenaline kicked in. In love and attraction, it works the same way. When you answer too quickly, when you explain everything, when you reveal every detail, you kill the mystery. But when you stay quiet, you create an enigma. And the male brain can't stand unsolved puzzles. It's like an itch he can't ignore. Picture this. You're on a date. He cracks a joke that isn't that funny, expecting you to laugh. Instead of forcing a giggle, you simply give a slight smile, and stay silent. That pause speaks louder than any comeback. He immediately starts to wonder, did I fail to impress her? Did she not enjoy that? Am I losing points here? That little storm inside his head is where the power of silence begins. And there's more. Studies in communication show that 93% of what we convey comes from nonverbal cues. Only 7% comes from actual words. Which means silence, paired with eye contact, posture, or a confident smile, can be far more powerful than any speech. And if you think this is just charm, wait until you see what silence does inside his brain. Silence isn't the absence of communication, it's actually one of the strongest forms of it. When a woman goes quiet, a man feels like he's standing in front of a distorted mirror. He can't see the answer, but he sees all of his own insecurities reflected back at him. From a psychological standpoint, this triggers what's known as attachment anxiety. The brain, when faced with uncertainty, releases both dopamine, the chemical of desire, and cortisol, the stress hormone. That mix is addictive. He feels unsettled, but at the same time, he can't stop thinking about you. It's the same rush people feel when they gamble. You don't know if you'll win or lose, but it's the uncertainty that keeps you hooked. Here's a real-life example. He texts you, "Hey, what's up?" You read it, but you don't answer right away. 30 minutes go by, he checks his phone. An hour passes, he starts to get restless. 2 hours later, he's coming up with excuses to send another message just to get your attention. In your silence, you don't just take up space, you become an obsession. That's the psychological impact. Silence becomes a stage where he performs all his doubts, all his worries, all his need for validation. But here's the thing, you can't use silence all the time. The real secret is knowing when to use it. Silence is like a medicine. In the right dose, it heals. In the wrong dose, it poisons. That's why timing is everything. One of the best times to use silence is right after an argument. Most couples fall into the trap of throwing words back and forth, accusations, explanations, apologies that come out in the heat of the moment. But when you stay quiet, breathe, and let silence take the stage, the effect is powerful. He's forced to sit with his own words. He starts replaying what he said, and in that space, regret has a chance to grow. Another moment is when he starts pulling away. If you chase after him, it only makes him feel in control. But if you step back and choose silence, he has to confront his own distance. It's like hearing the echo of his own footsteps walking away. That's when the silence works like a mirror, showing him what he's doing. And silence can be just as effective in the early stages of dating. Not replying to every text instantly, not rushing to fill every gap in the conversation, not showing obvious anxiety. Those little pauses make you stand out. While most women are quick to jump in, you're calm, mysterious, and in control. Think of it like a dance. Not every step is forward. Some are pauses. And it's those pauses that give the dance its beauty. But here's the catch, you need to know the fine line between being strategic and being cold. This is where a lot of women slip up. Strategic silence and indifference may look similar on the surface, but they couldn't be more different. Strategic silence is intentional. It communicates without words. Indifference, on the other hand, is cold, careless, and shuts down any chance of connection. The key is the energy behind your silence. Picture this. You're at a party. You're not talking much, but you're present. You exchange glances, you smile softly. You show you're engaged without chasing his attention. That's strategic silence. Now imagine the same party, but you completely ignore him. No eye contact, no acknowledgement. That's indifference. A man feels the difference immediately. Strategic silence sparks curiosity. Indifference kills attraction. Think of it like holding a rope. Pull too hard, it snaps. Let go, it falls. The secret is in keeping just the right amount of tension. And when you master this balance, silence becomes a multiplier of your value. In psychology, there's something called the scarcity principle. The rarer something is, the more value people place on it. When you're always available, when you respond instantly, when you overshare every detail of your life, you make yourself too abundant. Easy to reach, easy to take for granted. But when you use silence wisely, you create scarcity. And scarcity drives up value. A man's brain automatically links effort with worth. The harder something is to get, the more prestigious it feels once he has it. That's why your silence, your pauses, your delayed responses, your choice to hold back, makes you rare in his eyes. Think of it like a diamond. You can't just find one lying around on the sidewalk. It takes effort to dig, to search, to earn it. That's exactly why it's priceless. Your silence works the same way. It tells him, without you ever saying a word, that your time, your attention, your emotions are not cheap or common. Here's a simple example. He texts you in the middle of your workday, expecting you to drop everything and reply. You wait, finish what you're doing, and answer later with a short, calm response. That tiny act teaches him that your life is full, your time is valuable, and he needs to earn a place in it. That's the kind of lesson silence teaches, a lesson far louder than words. And nothing makes this clearer than the real-life examples you're about to see. This is where silence shows its true power, in the little, ordinary moments. Picture this. He sends you a teasing text, something like, "Bet you're already talking to someone else." The natural reaction would be to fire back, defend yourself, or start an argument. But a woman who understands the power of silence, she doesn't reply. The lack of reaction kills the game instantly. He waits for the pushback that never comes, and that quiet eats away at him. Here's another situation. He calls you late at night, expecting you to pick up right away. Instead, you let the phone ring. You go to sleep. The next morning, you calmly text, "I was asleep," like most people at that hour. That one silent night sends a clear message. Your time and attention can't be treated like they're available 24/7. And it doesn't stop there. Imagine you're on a date, and he makes a comment expecting instant approval. Instead of rushing to agree, you hold his gaze, give a small smile, and stay silent for a moment. That pause creates tension. Tension that pushes him to try harder, to impress you more. These little examples show that silence is more than the absence of words, it's a teacher. It sets boundaries, commands respect, and raises your value without you ever needing to raise your voice. But there's a catch. Silence is powerful, yes, but only when you use it in balance. Silence is a double-edged sword. Used the right way, it creates mystery and respect. Overused, it backfires and pushes him away. That's why balance is everything. Silence should be a pause, not your entire routine. Think of music. If a song had no rests, no pauses, it would just be noise. What makes music beautiful are the spaces between the notes. But if the silence goes on too long, the song ends. Relationships work the same way. Silence should be used to highlight the words that really matter, to give weight to your presence, to show control over your emotions. But it should also be followed by warmth, laughter, affection, the things that make a connection thrive. Here's an example. During an argument, instead of exploding, you choose silence. Hours later, once emotions cool down, you calmly say, "Can we talk about this now?" That silence wasn't coldness, it was intelligence. It gave both of you space to reset. That's the balance. Silence in the wrong measure feels like rejection. Silence in the right measure feels like wisdom. And when you strike that balance, his mind starts racing in ways you probably don't even realize. Most women don't realize this, but a man's ego doesn't sit quietly when you go silent. When you stop talking, his mind doesn't relax, it spins out of control. He starts asking himself, is she forgetting about me? Is she talking to someone else? Am I not important anymore? Did I lose her? Every one of those questions is like a hammer hitting his pride. And here's the kicker. Research shows that social rejection activates the same areas of the brain as physical pain. In other words, your silence doesn't just make him uncomfortable, it literally hurts. Faced with that discomfort, a man has two choices. He can run, or he can step up. And when there's real connection between you, most men will try harder. They'll send another text, call again, plan something just to get your attention. That's why I always say silence is like an invisible hook. It pulls him in, catches his mind, and keeps him thinking about you, without you lifting a finger. And that hook becomes even stronger when silence turns into something magnetic. Have you ever noticed how some women can walk into a room and instantly draw attention, without saying a single word? That's the power of magnetism. And silence plays a huge role in it. Silence communicates confidence. A woman who doesn't feel the need to explain herself constantly, who doesn't rush to fill every gap in the conversation, is sending a clear message. I know who I am. I don't need to prove it. That kind of energy is magnetic. It's the same allure that made classic Hollywood icons unforgettable. Think of Audrey Hepburn. Her charm wasn't in long speeches but in her eyes, her pauses, the quiet presence that made people lean in. Psychologists call this an aura of value. People who talk less and reveal less are often seen as more secure, more intriguing, more desirable. Silence becomes like a veil that wraps you in mystery. And mystery is irresistible to a man's mind. He feels compelled to figure you out, to work harder, to chase more, to keep earning what he's not sure he fully has. That's the magnetism of silence. It turns an ordinary woman into the one he can't forget. And when you use it wisely, silence doesn't just attract, it builds deeper connection. Silence isn't just a tool to spark attraction, it can also deepen the bond between you. When you pause in a conversation, you give him room to open up. When you don't rush to reply right away, you create anticipation that makes every moment together feel more valuable. Think of a painting. The colors matter, yes, but it's the white space around them that gives the image its shape. In relationships, silence works the same way. It frames the words, highlights the laughter, makes the special moments stand out even more. Here's a simple example. On a date, instead of talking non-stop, you choose to listen more, smile more, and allow pauses. That quiet space makes him feel truly heard, and at the same time, it gives you an air of mystery he can't quite pin down. Or picture this. You're lying next to each other, no words, just breathing in sync. That kind of silence creates intimacy no conversation could ever match. That's the real beauty of silence. It's not about pulling away, it's about using pauses and absence to make the connection richer, deeper, and unforgettable. Now you see, silence isn't empty. It's powerful. It's mystery, magnetism, and strategy all rolled into one. When used wisely, silence can drive a man crazy, not because of what you say, but because of what you don't. It sparks curiosity, stirs insecurities, ignites desire. It raises your value, sets boundaries, and turns ordinary moments into something unforgettable. But remember, silence isn't a weapon to use against him. It's a tool to use for yourself. It's not about punishing or pushing him away, it's about attracting, balancing, and creating deeper connection. So the next time you feel like sending a long text, over-explaining, or defending yourself, pause. Take a breath. Let silence do the talking. You'll be amazed at the effect it has on his mind and his heart. And if this message resonated with you, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the notifications, because I'll keep sharing the truths men never say out loud, but you deserve to know.